Welcome back to the Talk and Chatter experience powered by Gasoline Alley Harley Davidson. Today's guest is proud father, rugby league legend and Fox Sports commentator, Corey Parker. Welcome, mate.
Hey, mate. Thanks for having me. It's been a long time coming.
Mate, it has, hasn't it? So we had a few false starts and a few missed starts, but we're here now.
Yeah, no, we are. It's a great little setup. It's good to see that you're off and running. And, over the last few weeks, I've certainly had a look at some of the guests, and there's been some great stories come out of it.
Yeah, for sure. This will be 15 weeks in, and some of the stories have been incredible so far, and something a lot more than I thought would be happening at this stage anyway. So,
well, there's plenty of time for everyone to talk at the moment. There's a lot of things not happening, but one thing that can happen is you can sit and tell your story. So, let's get into it.
For sure, mate. Plenty of downtime. Who's Corey Parker?
Corey Parker, well, I'm a father of four,
Yep.
Proud father of four kids. Eldest, Memphis, is 10, Wiley is 9, Jagger 6, and River 4. So girl, boy, girl. And, mate, to be honest, that's where I see myself at the moment. I'm really enjoying fatherhood. Obviously, spent a long time, 16 years, 347 games for the Broncos, Origin Australian reps. But you spend a long time of your life, I suppose, dedicated to one cause. For me, that was rugby league. And, I'm very fortunate. I wouldn't be in the position I am right now if I didn't have rugby league. Along that time, I suppose your journey changes a few different avenues also. You go from solely worrying about yourself, as selfish as it may sound, to then, getting married, having kids, and all of a sudden it's not about you. The kids start to grow. Yep. Eldest is 10, as I mentioned, so they're into, their sports, dirt bikes, all the fun things that kids are into. And from my point of view, it's nice just to be able to sit back and really encourage that side of things. So, I had a lot of support from my wife through my career, and now that I'm finished, she's starting to now forge her own career on breakfast radio at Triple M. So things are going well. There's never a dull day in the Parker household, but in a little sort of small snapshot, that's what Corey Parker is. For a
retired person, you're one of the busiest people I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, 4 kids will do that to you first and foremost. But aside from that, I've also been really fortunate since retiring to step into, I suppose, a media world with Fox Sports. So Fox League released or launched a channel, a full-time channel in 2017, which I was a part of, and very fortunate, as I mentioned, but still a part of to this day. It's a wonderful company to work with. To the camaraderie and the mates that you've formed through footy is great, but then work and to form that same camaraderie with similar guys that I played with now in work circumstance is really a dream come true. So you go out, you cover a game that you love, you talk about it, you give an opinion on it, and you go home, you wake up, and you don't feel as sore as you used to. So that's terrific to be a part of. Coaching's another side that I really enjoy, and I've been very fortunate to be on the coaching staff of the Broncos for a number of years now, but of recent times, probably more specifically, with that role. So that's an itch that I had to scratch, and once I started that, it's something that I want to continue and further in that realm. But so those 3 things alone keep you pretty busy.
Mate, it's huge. I see it message you, see you, it's like, what are you doing today? Oh, I've got to go here, I've got to go here, I've got to fly here. Probably less a bit now, but there's a lot on. Yeah,
there is. I mean, COVID's obviously put a halt to a lot of things at the moment for everyone, not only for us, but the game of rugby league's still up and running, and the thing with playing or being in Brisbane and working with Fox, it's not just about the Broncos. There's 16 teams, 8 games over a weekend. So your time, I suppose, pretty much from a Thursday, or it could be from a Thursday to a Sunday, is very much dictated to by Fox. And like I said, it's a dream job, and I love doing it. So that could mean that you spend 1 or 2 or 3 nights away, through travelling. But no, I wouldn't be dead for quids.
For sure. Was it? Did commentary replace the whole of football? Because there's got to be a bit of a hole left once football finishes.
It didn't replace it. but it serviced it, I
Okay.
suppose.
Yep.
There's still, and I don't know when it'll ever leave. To be very honest, I don't. There's still a part there that thinks, whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know. That still thinks I could still go out and mix it.
Yep.
Now I could be, very, mistaken in that regard. But there's still a part of me that thinks, if you got knuckled down, you did this, you could still go out and mix it up. So it didn't replace it, but it did service. Again, I love the game of rugby league. It's provided everything that I've got to now have a job that I love, and it includes rugby league. It's pretty special. But it certainly didn't. Because when I retired, I didn't retire because of injury. I didn't retire because, I couldn't go on, or I felt, the circumstances were different. I think, and talking to some close mates that played for a long period of time also, that retired due to injury, I think it cuts ties, because you just know you're done.
Yep.
But this year, for example, I played in the nines.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I had that fire back in the tummy.
Yep.
Yeah, it was only for a game, but you just sort of think, well, maybe I could go around. Or
Was
maybe
that fun?
I could. Oh, it was outstanding.
Yeah.
And the thing about rugby league or sport doesn't matter what you're doing, is you could be at the back end of your career at 35, 6, 7, 8, whatever it may be, and someone could just be starting off at 17 or 18.
Yep.
And you still enjoy the same thing. But when you were 18, that person that's just starting off, they're only just being born. So it's really funny how it works. I mean, this morning, funnily enough, my young fella loves footy. He's only 9, loves it. And he turned the TV on. They had some old replays. And there was a game played. The Broncos were playing South. And I was in the game, obviously. And Gordon Tallis and Ben Eichen and Paul Green. These guys now that you look at, you see Gordon on TV, you see Ben Eichen on TV, you see Paul Green's a head coach. It's just funny how, time, I suppose, over a period of time, it differs so much. But sport is always there, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. I mean, we were talking just before about, Mick Doohan and Jack Doohan, and, you're just starting his journey, and, someone like a Jamie Whincup, for example, is at the back end of his, yet they're still doing the same thing.
For sure.
I just think it's really special. And it's only, I suppose, with sport that you're able to do that. Now, my journey with the Broncos, I still remember vividly in 1992, the Broncos won the competition. They flew in back to Brisbane. That's when the grand finals were done in the afternoon. Mum and Dad said, you want to go see the team fly in? I said, absolutely. So anyway, dressed in my Broncos kit, I'm standing at the airport right next to the bus. They come past Winfield Shield, and I see Alf, and I see Kevy, and I see these guys, and I'm touching them. And to me, that fire just ignited.
Gives you shivers now.
I played with Alf. I played with Kevy. I played with Andrew G. So I would have just been some scrawny little kid standing at a bus. But I tell that story now, and it gives hope to that little kid that you see down the road and you sign their hat. That, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that this is that time. I just think it's I think it's really special like that. And being at the Broncos and seeing some young kids come through and they produce a photo, 10 years ago when they were a little kid and you're their idol.
Yep.
Now they're doing it. I just think it's really cool to be able to do stuff like that.
Bit surreal, and I guess especially like 347 games. You had a long career. You've seen so many different phases of the Broncos, didn't you? Really?
Yeah, I did. When I first come in 1998, when I say come in, I was only 16. I was still at school, but you get invited along and you do training camps, etc. But when I came into the top squad in '99, I signed my first contract. And myself, Justin Hodges, and Brent Tate, all best mates. We sort of played a lot of junior football together. We all signed a contract in '99. We just got back from a schoolboy tour, Australian schoolboy tour from England, and so the pre-season of '99 was our first, and football then, and the culture that and the players then, it's still no different now. I mean, the personnel changed, but I look at I'm talking, Kevy, Alfie, Wendell, Gordy, Brad Thorne. I'm talking some of the game's greats, and here I was, this young kid I was still at school, 17. being able to run around and pass and being accepted to some degree from these guys was really cool. Like, I mean, it was, yeah, they drive home and time evolves, and I used to do the same. You drive home, you don't think anything of it, but that young kid, that person, that influence that those people had on me was invaluable. Like, and yeah, when I'm older, or when I was at the back end of my career, and you see young kids come in, the influence you have on their career is invaluable. Sometimes you fob over it and you don't give it the appreciation it needs, or it's just organically, that's how it happens.
Just rolls on.
So then furthering from that, now that I'm not playing, the satisfaction, that same fulfillment that I get from helping that young kid, whether it be through a coaching, is enormous. Like, it's amazing. I love the fact that you can have an influence on somebody's performance, whether it be mentally, physically, technically, whatever it may be. And that's what it used to drive me as a player also, like having an influence on the scoreboard or having an influence on, the fans. That, to me, that was, it was always a driving factor. And you do things for all different reasons, but I used to love the fact that you might do a great run in a game, and then the crowd lift, and you know that you've had that influence. Yeah. Or you might come up with a tackle, or your team might be doing something special, and you're having an influence. I think that's really, to me, that's the hard-earned punter that works his 9 to 5 job and earns his $1,000 a week and takes his 3 kids to the footy to turn up to cheer you on. That's the
reward.
That's the reward, absolutely. You work hard and you do this and you got all these other factors, but just to give it a little insight, to have an influence on either the crowd or whoever, or a player or a teammate, whatever it may be, was really, really satisfying.
Mate, I was thinking about it last night, and to go along with that, and it was about 2002, 2003. I had friends within the Newcastle Knights, and the Knights-Brisbane games were always tough, tough, gritty games. It was like a real head-to-head sort of thing. And downstairs at the Caxton Street was always, or downstairs or upstairs, I can't quite remember, was after was always like the teams got to go, and I had a friend that took us in there. And I remember seeing yourself, you would have been really young and at the time, 02, 03. And looking at it there, like, because I grew up in the area, I was like, wow, that's Corey Parker. He's come from here. This is pretty cool. I was a couple of years younger. But thinking of it last night, you would have been doing the same thing probably with those other leadership players that were there at the time as well. You would have been, I was pinching myself to see someone from our area, and you probably were doing the same thing, saying, captain was Gordon Tallis at the time. There's Gordon Tallis. I'm in the same, I've just played football with him and now I'm out with him. And
absolutely. I mean,
that'd be weird.
Yeah, well, it was. And over time, like I still, just to touch on that, for example, I remember as a young kid, I was still living at home, trying to make it, playing, to get a contract, etc. And Gordy, between sessions, and I didn't really have anywhere to go, so you'd either hang out at the club and do nothing. And often Gordon would say, you want to come around home and have some lunch and that. I'm thinking, are you serious?
Wow.
Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, whether he, I'm sure he did, understood the influence that he could have, and vice versa. I just think that's it's something that, and I'm sure most professional sports people have at some stage, but the more you actually sit and think about it, the greater it is. And now that you're finished, well, I've finished rather, now that I've finished, and you can still have that influence on whoever it may be, you just don't know where and who, or where it might lead, or who they might be. It's really incredible to think. For me at that stage, I was just a young kid thinking, how good's life? I'm just playing footy. I didn't envisage 347 games, playing for Australia, winning World Cups, etc. At that stage, I was stuck right there and then. But for that kid that you would have saw at the Caxton, probably carrying on like a scallywag, was just enjoying that.
Yeah.
Now that kid's grown up, there's another young kid doing exact same thing with somebody. It's just that organic transformation of time and I suppose for professional sports people or anyone in life for that matter, but obviously more you can understand it a bit more with sports people.
You've worked hard enough to still be around the Broncos in the coaching roles and stuff like that. Do you see it? Do you see it with the kids coming through now? That eagerness and that you would have had at the time?
Yeah, there's always eagerness. There's always talent. That's one thing that kids and I suppose young kids always, particularly when they turn up at the Broncos through the development and the programs that they have, and by the time they sort of step into the realms of a squad in the first grade sort of squad, they've got some talent. They've got something. It's then what they want to do with that something.
That next bit,
which is I've seen plenty fall away that had all the talent and all the the skill in the world, and then I've seen others that have no talent, no skill, that just do something with that something. I think it's really important as well, and that's what desire and that's what hard work and all those things come down to, particularly and where you want to go and what you want to do and what you want to be remembered for. Now, if you want to be and stopping at no end to get that. Everyone's in it for a different reason. All I ever wanted to do when I was a young kid was play footy. That was it. I wanted to be a football player. So to some degree, I put a lot of eggs in the one basket. I had a couple of fallback things, but really, I all my eggs were in the one basket. But I'm a really sort of disciplined guy, and I could make sacrifices along the way to make sure that it ensured that I had every opportunity to do it. When I got there, as an 18-year-old and working under some of those names that I just mentioned there before, that was just the top of the surface. Okay, now what do you want to do? And you just keep reassessing. You keep having achievable goals. There's no use having a goal if you can't achieve it. So, having something you could always strive for to make you better. And if you tick that off, well, then what? And then what? And then what? And I just kept doing that for 16 years. At no stage did I sit back and go, okay, I'm happy, I'm done. Some people do, and it then probably has an influence on their outcome. I always wanted to be better and better and better, and competitive and win and all those things. It was. It was interesting. It was an interesting journey.
Are you a naturally talented person? You're a hard worker.
Hard worker, and that derives from mum and dad. So mum and dad, dad was and still is a truck driver. Spent a lot of time away when we were kids, providing for the family. We were from, by no means, if I had to categorise it, I'd say low to mid socio-economical background. My sister and I never went without anything, but we didn't have the best of anything as well. But the traits that mum and dad had and gave us, or me, personally speaking, was hard work, was dedication, was sacrifice. And I think they're some of the really best traits you can have in life, particularly, don't matter what you're doing. Hard work is just something that you either have or you don't have, or if you don't have it, you can get it. And I, from a young age, I can remember, working out in the yard with, I grew up at 10 acres at Jimboomba after, when I was about 11. I can remember working on, out in the yard because we bought a house that needed everything done to it. Never house done. It was always buy something and we'll fix it. Buy something, we'll fix it. Buy a mower and we'll fix it. Do this and we'll fix it. So those life skills come, but it was through hard work. Take that to footy, and you're not going to succeed unless you've got a bit of hard work. Do you need talent? Yes, you do. Do you need skill? Yes, you do. Can you work on both of those? Yes, you can. Hard work's hard to work on if you don't want to do it. So that was always something that really sort of drove me. That sacrifice also, as a young kid, and I remember some, just some memories that are floating back now. 15, when you're 15-year-old and you're starting to play a bit of footy and you're starting to think you're, pretty cool. girls and alcohol and parties and drugs and all these things that all of a sudden weren't part of your life, all of a sudden now are part of society. So you got some decisions to make in and around those areas. Do I go to that party, in year 10 or year 11 or year 12, whatever it may be, knowing that I got something on the weekend? Probably not, which I did, as in didn't go.
Yep.
Got crucified at times at school, whatever. But I always had that, in my head. I wanted to be a footballer.
Determination.
And that's what I want to do. And I'm really stubborn in that regard, and even still to this day. If I get something in my head and I want to achieve it, I'll do everything I can to try and achieve it. So going through early teens into, I suppose, adulthood, having those values that mum and dad had instilled, hard work, etc., really helped. And then when you go into your craft or your profession and playing rugby league, I think they're the core values that I really lent on.
Yeah.
And you work on all the others, obviously. But one thing you just always needed was hard work. And now, being a father of 4, I think, what are my values I'm instilling to my children? So I sit back and assess it, and I think, well, they see dad do this, they see dad do that. Maybe they do.
Yep.
Hard work, this, all these other things. Because you got to, you got some, you got to uphold what a parent does and how you want to, mould your children and what you want them to be like and how you want them to be and et cetera, et cetera. So I suppose that's the role of and the way life goes. But yeah.
Because you are the bloke that's around home that does the maintenance. You don't hire someone in to do.
I'm the same as what I just mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm the same as what I just mentioned.
Yep.
Yeah. I buy this to fix it to do that.
It's just carried on, hasn't it?
It's just carried on.
Yeah.
And some of my greatest memories as a kid were out in the shed. Some of my greatest memory and my relationship with my mum and dad and my sister is very close, very close. My dad, he was in my wedding party.
Wow, really?
At my wedding.
Yep.
And he was in my wedding party because, people think mum and dad, they're going to come to your wedding. But my dad was like my mate.
Yeah.
Like he still is. Like dad, you get your best mates and they're rock solid. They're a vault. You can tell them things and you can, and there's just no judgment, none of this, whatever. Dad was like that. I'd tell dad absolutely everything.
Yep.
And, we had this relationship. So why does he not deserve to be in my wedding party? He's one of my best mates, so in you come.
Yeah.
But some of those greatest memories I had with dad was in the shed, whether it be fixing or doing or whatever. So life memories, life lessons, life skills. This is what this does. This is what that does. Blah 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 blah. And over time, you learn that. And guess what? Me and my children, boys, this is what you do. This is how you do it. You let them do it. You let them, make errors. You let them injure themselves to some degree. You let them do this. You let them do that. And I think looking back at it or standing outside looking in, I'm sort of doing exactly what I was taught. But yeah.
Mate, that wedding part, that's such a... I've never heard of it spoken like that. It's like my old man's my best mate as well. It's such a cool way to look at it.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I mean, Dad, he's been on the same journey as myself, just from a different perspective. They've been to every game, and Mum for that matter, but sort of more singling Dad out in terms of the male
that
thing.
relationship. Yep.
Been to every game, did everything, provided everything. Even to, I flew him over to, in my last tour for the World Cup in 2013, flew him over to England and, he got to experience those things because he wouldn't have done it otherwise. But I thought, well, I'm not going to play in another World Cup in my career. Come over and enjoy it and have fun and see a bit and blah, blah, blah. So I look forward to my relationship I have with my children. Now I understand, at some stage you still got to be their dad.
Yeah.
But I'm like their mate.
Yeah.
I love the fact that I can have a laugh and talk like not men, but
Yeah.
talk like guys with my 9-year-old.
Yeah.
But anyway, everyone does things differently.
Like, yeah, very. It's refreshing. It's a different way that I've ever heard it spoken, and
Yeah.
appreciate it. I don't want to just talk to you about footy because you're a three-dimensional character. You've got so many other things that you do as well, and you've spoken about footy a lot. How was it going on things like kangaroo tours and stuff like that?
Oh, brilliant. See, my journey there even was a little bit unique in the sense that, mate, I debuted for Australia when I was 28. So in 2011, I got picked to play for Australia, which to me was that void in my career that I just hadn't done.
Yep.
I'd done a few other things, tick, 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 in terms of those boxes, but I hadn't pulled on the green and gold. And there was a point in my life where I played for Queensland, and then I sat on the sidelines for 6 years. What I mean by that is that the team, I played in 04-05. In 06, we went on that, what is now deemed to be the start of that run.
Yep.
I was a better player at that stage, but they just picked a whole heap of new kids, and they won, so they stuck with it. So I had to bide my time to get back into it. So 6 years I was on the sideline trying to get back in. Through that time, I had the opportunity to play for New Zealand. My mum is a full-blood Kiwi. She moved over when she was 25. So am I eligible? Yes, I am. Now, I spent 6 years waiting to get back in to play for Queensland, but still had that desire and to want to represent the green and gold. Year 1, year 2, you get through. Year 3, year 4, you think, geez, I'm playing pretty good footy here. I should be getting picked in this team. I know I'm good enough to be here. You start to think outside. Okay, well, I want to play international football. I can play for New Zealand. Pretty sure if I made myself eligible without blowing wind up, I get picked. So that was real enticing. But the one thing that held me back off that was I'm of a firm belief that your heart's got to be where it is, particularly with those sorts of jerseys.
Yep.
And yes, I qualified, but my heart wasn't where it was in terms of running out with a Kiwi jersey on. Yes, my mum was Kiwi, so technically so am I, but I'm not.
Yep.
And I always had that desire to want to play for the green and gold. So that came in 2011, and it was like a dream come true. So 2011, I'm 28, so I've played a fair bit of footy at this stage. I've done a fair bit of things in the game to get picked in the Four Nations tour that was going to England. It was Lockie's last tour. That was in 2011, so Lockie was retiring that year. It was his last tour, so it was pretty cool to go. I'd played a lot of footy with Lockie. And to be fair, I actually made a bit of a running joke whilst we're over there that it's Lockie's last tour and so's mine. Like we're farewelling me as well.
I've done me one.
So I've done me one one tour tick.
Wow.
So I went over there, and I think, to be fair, actually helped the mindset. Like I wasn't because I'd played so much football and I'd played. I wasn't nervous. I was really enjoying what it was, and I think that really helped. So I played in the 11. I only played the one game. We played against Wales, and outside of that, so you're away for 5 weeks. Played one game, so we had a lot of good fun. When you're not playing, you probably hear that guys talk about it. You're classed as an emu. If you're an emu, you're obviously not playing. You train a fair bit, and you have a fair bit of fun also. Yep. But so that was in 11, and furthering from there, I was able to then make it again and again and again, and ended up playing 13 tests for Australia and won a World Cup. And in that regard, it was really special because to win a World Cup the way we did with the team we did was really cool. But going back to when I first was there, fulfilling that role or that dream, I still think it's the pinnacle. Rugby League, playing for Queensland is the hardest, most intense arena you'll play ever. Yeah. But pulling on the green and gold, singing your anthem, reflecting back to when Mum used to drive you to training, when you used to do this and when you used to do that, and all those little memories makes it so much worth it. And I did it in a place called Wrexham over in Wales in the freezing cold, drizzling rain, standing there. That was my reflection. Furthering from that, I was able to play for Australia and Brisbane and Suncorp and World Cups and stuff, and Mum and Dad were able to come to those ones, which was really cool. But that first initial game that I had, when you stand there, that's the memories that you reflect on.
Mate, it must be do you get a phone call or something? Just is it like that, or what happens?
It's
is there?
It's a
do
good
you see
question.
It on the news?
It's a good question because everyone's got a different story to this, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone finds out differently. Right. Some people find out through a phone call, through a manager or team manager or whoever. This is how I found out I was playing for Australia, and I was devastated, but also a pretty cool story. So we played when you finish your season in 2011 for us it was. I think we bowed out in the first week of the finals. The squad was getting announced. Let's say 3 weeks later or 2 weeks later. So I had 3 weeks off. So during that time, you continue to train just in hope that you're thereabouts, and you continue to train and hope. So I'm at the Broncos. I've just finished a field session, so there's only a few of us there. I knew the team was getting announced that day at 11 o'clock, I think it was. And I don't know, I just finished the field session. I walked in, I grabbed my phone, I had a message from a mate. It just said, "Congratulations, mate." I was like, what? I'm sort of starting to get a little bit, hang on a sec, how would he know? Hasn't team? I ran upstairs at the club. Fox was on upstairs and live press conference, and the names are getting run across the bottom of the screen, and I see C. Parker. And I'm looking around. Nobody's there.
Oh, no.
I'm there. There's a TV. Names are running across. There's a couple of the lads downstairs.
Yep.
Doing. Nobody's there. I've had my first Australian team I'm named in. I'm looking at no one. I'm jumping up and down. It's the greatest. I'm 28.
Yep.
Greatest bloody moment of my life, and there's no one to share it with.
Wow.
That's how I found out.
Yep.
And shortly after, you get a phone call, and you try and act all cool and whatever, Let the phone ring 3 or 4 times instead of picking up the first time. But that was it. I rang mum. I was,
So you got no...
That was it.
Mate.
No heads up. That's how I found out.
You're 10 years in at this point.
Yeah.
10 years into a career.
That's how I found out I'd made me first Australian side. There you go.
Man, that's unreal. So that's a long tour, isn't it? Long time away.
Yeah, that one was only about 5 weeks, but the World Cup was nearly 8 weeks long.
That's a long time.
It is a long time. Again, at the time, you're a little bit self-centered in the sense that the world revolves around me, you.
Yep.
You got a wife and kids and stuff, but and being a professional athlete, to be at the top of your game, you do have to be selfish.
Yep.
I know that sounds really bad because you got wife and kids, but if you're not selfish, you're not going to be able to do the things you need to do to fulfill where you need to go.
Yep.
So you need some really good support, which I had. But at no stage did I even stop to think about. Yeah, you made sure your wife and kids were looked after and cared and all that stuff, but it's all about you. Hey, this is me. Yep. This is us. This is for us. You can frame it up every which way you like, but it's a selfish sport to be, and it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're a motocross rider, whether you're a tennis player.
Yeah,
it's all about you.
It's a selfish pursuit.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And you don't realise that at the time, and it's not like, hey, stuff you. It's all about me. That's not how you approach it, but it sort of is. You know what I mean? Looking back.
Yep.
8 weeks away was a long time, but I didn't mind it at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the fact that how good is it? You're 8 weeks away with a bunch of blokes that you love, getting paid
Best
to
mates.
do what you love. How good's life?
Yeah, it'd be the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Like, really
mate, some of the stories and memories that you have from those times will live with you forever.
Yep.
yeah, over that period of time, you know, the families and girlfriends and wives and whatever came over.
Yep.
But obviously they can't be away for 8 weeks. That's
It's a long
financially
time.
not viable.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Well, not for me.
Nah. Tell me this. Between that 06 and 11 period, and there was a period of a lot of players dealing in that, were you ever allured by rugby? Was there any...
Rugby?
Yeah.
No, not so much rugby. I suppose if I played rugby
Growing up.
as a younger kid or through school, maybe. So not through rugby. Now, rugby wasn't... I mean, now, today's game,
Yep.
you know, the crossover is... It's very easy for most. A lot more easier for outside backs as well. I mean, I was a forward, so it wasn't so much... you know, I didn't have an appetite and wasn't real enticing to want to do it, so I don't think I even really pursued it. So, no, not really there.
Not one of the things. Because, you know, you just, not that you get snubbed, but you miss selection a few times and that. And, you know, especially outside backs, there's a lot of backs getting stolen from the sport and stuff at the time.
Persistence, though.
Yep.
I mean,
keep grinding.
That's what I looked at. Persistence and patience and, you know, and it's a story I tell young kids, you know.
Yep.
And I used to be a young kid, but I was fortunate when I was a young kid. I sort of got picked in a lot of junior rep sides, but I tell this story to those younger guys that don't get picked in the rep sides.
Yep.
And they think their world's ended. Like, you don't get picked in a, you know, regional football team. Big deal. Persist if you want to pursue it and work hard, and you just never know what's going to come off the back of it.
Yep.
So, you know, it's just a different time frame of your life. But my time frame or persistence was required when I was, you know, had 100 and something games and I'd won a comp.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was a different.
Just time.
It was a different one, but yeah, looking back, I don't think I would have been the player I was if I didn't face those challenges I did when I was a younger player. Yeah.
Because you, like, without, you know, stroking the ego as well, as you progress further, your game progressed so much too, didn't it? Like, it really got nailed down.
Yeah, so when I first started, it was unlimited interchange. So the game was very much a big man's game because you could roll on and off.
Yep.
And, you know, that's what you could do. In 06, 05, 06, it started to go down to a faster style game. So when we won the comp in 06, I think I was about 97 kilos.
Yep.
But it was a different game. But I had to make a decision back then, you know, do I want to be this 20-minute forward, and that's sort of all you're really classed as, or do I want to do and be something a bit better? Now, growing up, I played 5'8", so I always had a skill and a pass and a kick and all those sorts of things. But when I came into first grade, I was put in front row. So I really dumbed down that skill set, so to speak. So in 05, at the end of 05, I lost a heap of weight, got a lot fitter. 06, 07 came along, and the game sort of went on that path. And then when I moved into the lock forward position, and I started to play 80 minutes. So how do I play 80 minutes? Because at that stage I was only playing 60. Well, you got to get fitter, and that's quite simply how it was: hard work, get fitter, get fitter, get fitter. And the best players or the best people in any sport, are the fittest.
Yep.
I don't care what you say. They are the fittest. The number one thing you want to work on if you're trying to succeed, if you're the fittest, you think better, you make better decisions, you execute better. It will outlast anything. One thing I do know.
Yep.
So that's what I made a real conscious effort to do, was get fitter, get fitter, get fitter. All of a sudden now I'm playing 80 minutes. So when I'm on a field and I'm looking and you get a bit of time, you can see and you're scanning and I can see, for example, if you're tired when I'm pretty good, well, I'm going to target you. You make better decisions, and everything off the back of that just flows.
Yep.
You know, you get time for an offload, which was really prevalent in the back end of my career. Always had it. When I was younger, I didn't really often produce it too much because I was in fear of coming up with an error. The older you get, the more confident you feel, so you start to, you know, have a calculated risk in that area. But I just put that down to fitness. I simply do. And as I said, it doesn't matter what sport you play. I don't care. the fittest guys are the best.
Yep.
That's it.
It just happens.
Mate, it does. I mean, you look in the game now, for example, James Tedesco, he's arguably the best player in the world.
Yep.
He just does not stop. He is that fit. Just runs around, run. They just don't stop.
Just,
And you go into their training sessions, or you delve a bit deeper, or you talk a bit more, and who's your fittest? Sure enough, it's those ones.
yeah.
Yeah, doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, what sport you're playing. You make better decisions when you're the fittest. So that was a real sort of conscious effort for me.
Right, to get to that point.
To get fit, to play 80 minutes, to do this, to do that. I knew if I had to take my game to another level from that forward that was doing a job, playing 60 minutes, okay, you're not bad, blah, blah, to, okay, household name, play 80 minutes, valuable, bang, bang, bang.
Yep.
How do I do it?
Real asset.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you what was I going to say? Did you make a conscious decision to go to lock, or was that sort of forced upon?
No, well,
Or was that part of the fitness as well? Like
yeah, a bit of both.
Bit of both.
So, I mean, when I first started, I played in the front row. I then moved out to an edge in the back row. I didn't enjoy it. I just didn't like having the restrictions of having to stay on one edge.
Yep.
I just didn't enjoy that at all. And then the game, or the way the game went, the lock was pretty much another hit-up forward, middle forward, as they call them.
Yep.
But it gave myself and my game the ability to float left and float right and chime in and do this, or just do the hard work, whatever it may be. You had more reign. So that was certainly what I enjoyed most about it. I thought I read the game quite well. The tempo and what the game was doing, the flow, and sometimes it might have needed just this, or you can play with the footy a bit, or you can So I lock was certainly the position that I enjoyed the most. I think I played my best footy at lock, based on those things I just mentioned.
Do you think, like what you're saying about the fitness, like a lot of racing drivers and motorcycle riders, some days they have a day where they talk about flow state and stuff like that, where it doesn't look like it's not even happening. You're above it. Does that happen in football?
Yeah.
Where just the game happens in front of you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, it does. It's a quick example that comes to mind there. I mean, some days you just go out there, and the one thing I have learnt, though, playing footy, you don't have to feel good to play good. All right? But some days you feel good and you play good. And there's moments in time where you just know, you're like in the game.
Yep.
Like you're seeing it before it happens, for example. You feel it like you're doing it easy. You're looking around and blokes are like struggling and you're cruising.
Yeah.
And which would be similar to what you're saying. And your value and your contribution is high. And I remember playing for Queensland. We come out of an Origin match on the Wednesday, played backed up on the Friday. Now the Origin match is fast. It is really fast, and your ass is hanging out from go to woe. That's just how it is. And then backed up on the Friday night, and the pace of the game is down a step, but you're still going fast. So everything else around you feels like it's slow, but you feel like you're on top of everything. You're ahead of everything.
Yep.
Certainly there's some times where, to use your word, you're ahead of the flow, and some players play like that.
Right.
They might not feel like that, but they certainly play like that. But there has been times where you just go,
I've just got time on my side for everything.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that's it. I know, even just say through racing and stuff, like some days things just happen too easy, and it happens really well. So you touched on Margot earlier about going to your wife, obviously going to work. Was that a conscious decision? Like, she obviously sacrificed a fair bit of time through your, like, she's got a massive career now in radio.
Yeah.
Was that a conscious decision, or the way
Not
it worked
really.
out? No,
not really. It was obviously at some stage she wanted to go back to work once the kids were out of an age that she was that real maternal mother, excellent mother. Those mums that are forever doing. She really wanted to rear the kids, and which I encouraged. But once the kids were of an age where they can walk and talk and do all that stuff.
Yep.
You start to sort of look to other things. And her opportunity came on radio was very unique. She had to work, just from talking off the back of what I used to do, just randomly over phone calls and whatever. She had a opportunity to go and do, I suppose, a week fill-in at just a local radio station out at Ipswich Way. She went and did that whilst having a baby, like breastfeeding at the time, and she really enjoyed it. One thing she does do well is talk. Like, she's really social.
Yeah.
So she went from there, and then obviously she had an opportunity to do a show on a weekend, 2 hours on a weekend. Wasn't real didn't put anyone out. Fulfilled her role of working and getting that sense of talking to adults and people. What I mean by that is, from all the mums out there and dads for that matter, when you talk kids all the time, you're so consumed with kids, it's nice to just go out and have an adult conversation. So she was doing that. And then had an opportunity to have an afternoon show that she wasn't part of because one of the girls couldn't be a part of it. She enjoyed that, and then she got an opportunity to go. Anyway, long story short, she's part of the breakfast radio in Brisbane and flying. So I mean, her story is unique in itself. But at the time, she sort of, better words, fell into it, but enjoyed it that much. She just took off with it.
Yep.
So a conscious decision. Well, maybe not the career. If you said to her 5 years ago, you know what, you're going to be a breakfast radio in Brisbane, she probably would have laughed at you.
Yeah.
But she's very good at what she does. She's a social being, and it's funny what life throws up. It bloody is. You just never know what's coming.
No, you don't. Opportunity wise or anything, you just don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
How do you feel about footy now?
I love it. I still love it. As I touched on there before, you still have that thought in your head. I don't know when it leaves, and it hasn't left me yet. I don't know when it leaves. You still have that thought in your head where you go, I reckon I could still do this.
Yeah.
Now I'm 38 currently, 39 next year. I don't know when that leaves you. Now I don't know if that means there's an itch you got to scratch, or it's just something that stays with you, or I don't know. But I don't know if it leaves you at 40, or you go out there and you have a bit of a run and get sorted out, and then go, okay, I'm done.
So you still just love it, eh?
You do, mate. Well, for me, it was all about the love.
Yeah.
Now that can get people can get misunderstood in that regard. Like I started playing when I was 8. Why did I start playing when I was 8? Because I loved playing footy with my mates. Well, when I'm 38, which is currently now, why do I love playing footy? Because I love playing with my mates. That never leaves you. Now, at some stage in people's careers, that does leave you. And it's not about the love, and it's not about playing with your mates. And I always say this, and a lot of people come to me for advice, and parents, and how little Johnny wants to do this. How do I enjoy the game? Go out there and have fun.
Yeah.
First and foremost, because if you're having fun, you tend to do things a bit differently. And if you don't enjoy it, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So that enjoyment factor, or that love, never left. Now, a lot of things and variables changed over the period of time, but that love for the game never left me at all. And it's still there. It's still there. I don't think it'll ever leave, but there will probably come a time where you go, you know what? Hey, old bloke, you can't.
I know.
You can't mix it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know when that'll happen.
Because you're fit, like your training routine now is probably just as hard as footy.
It's a different routine, but routine. And getting back to that stubbornness, routine's all I've ever known.
Yep.
And it's routine's something that that gives you stability when you're doing whatever it is you're doing, whether it be your job, my job, whatever. If you don't have a routine, there's no stability. If you don't have stability, there's no consistency. No consistency. For me, that was routine.
Yep.
And footy, when I first retired for 16 years, all of a sudden there is no routine. And you go, well, hang on a second, what do I do? You try and find a void, fulfill a void, sorry. So for me, it was, okay, well, let's find a good routine that works. So, again, just stubborn. I get up at 5 every morning. I train. I do this. And then whatever happens after that happens.
Yep.
But I've got that routine. I've got that stability that I fall back on, regardless of what's going on. But I suppose you look at it, you go from when you're a kid, from grade 1 to grade 12, okay? You've got routine. You're told what to wear, when to go to school, when to have your holidays, when to have your lunch. That's routine. So from 6 to 17, you've got routine. So then when I went from 17 to 34, guess what? I had the same thing. I got told what to wear, where to be, what time to do it, when to have your holidays, when to do this. Then all of a sudden I had nothing. No one was telling me where to be, what to wear, and all that sort of stuff.
So from 6 to 34, basically.
6 to 34. So pretty much your whole life, you were told what to do, how to do it. So that's all I've ever known.
Yep.
But it's the one thing I know works. And when you've got a routine that works, and that's the key, works, and it takes time to work out what routine does work. Everyone's different. You just know that it puts you in a really good stead to come up with the best outcome. So for me with footy, my routine was X. And, I mean, if you ask my wife, she could probably tell you what my routine was. It was just that.
To a T.
Mundane, and it was every week, same thing. But guess what? I knew what I was going to get on the weekend to some degree. That consistency. Yeah. So it's pretty important for anyone, I think. Yeah, any of those successful people, regardless on what it might do or be, I reckon they do creature of habit. Yeah.
Yep. Just keep grinding it out.
That's it.
A lot of people don't know, but you're a motorsport fan too.
Love it, yeah.
That's something from childhood as well? Or?
Yeah. I've grown up around cars. So, from an early age, from drag racing, I've always had an interest in cars, old cars, building cars, talking about, in the shed with Dad, fixing, the building, hot rods and the like. But I've always enjoyed motor racing as well. I used to race go-karts when I was little.
I can't believe that. No, I didn't.
They got to a point, I think it was about 14, 15. Mum and Dad said, look, you're going to have to make a bit of a choice here. As you know, motorsport, you can't succeed without any funds, and I can't play footy and do this. So, look, I chose footy, but I always loved motorsport, loved it. And, you talk about itches you want to scratch. That's like I would love to be able to be a race car driver. Obviously, there's a lot of things that go along with that. But my next best thing was just being a fan, and it's a sport that I thoroughly enjoy. It's funny though with football, a lot of people look at motorsport and go, "Oh, Jesus, well, you just ran around in circles. How hard is it?" Whereas I actually love the sport. I love what it's about, and hows and whys and all that stuff. It's from that I've post footy I've been able to work for the supercars, for example, on some broadcasting and stuff, which again, with Fox Sports wouldn't have been possible. But if you told me 7 years ago that you're going to be walking around Bathurst interviewing people for supercars, how good's that? How good's life?
For sure.
It's the best. It was pretty cool.
Was that a good experience, the commentary gig for supercars? That was good?
Oh, it was awesome, yeah. And I think, people look at you and they pigeonhole you as a footy player and you're this and that, and then when you start talking about, tyre degradation and all this sort of, whoa, what's this bloke on about? Or whatever it may be. But no, it's something if I miss a supercar race, it's because I'm busy or whatever it may be. But they're very cool, very cool. I've got some friends that I've been able to form, some friendships I've formed over a period of time with some of the supercar drivers. It's great to see some of their careers and what they've done. And again, I mean, they appreciated, I suppose, my career from where they used to watch from, but I'm like that fan that appreciates their career from what they, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing with the motorsport side of it, because it's I don't know what it is, but you're either seems like you're either a football fan or ball sport fan or motorsport.
Yeah.
You know, it is sort of a bit pigeonholed. So, I found it really interesting. I knew you were into cars a bit, but I didn't realise you raced karts when you were younger or anything like that. So.
Yeah, look, I mean, I didn't. I obviously wasn't good enough that any sponsorships came along at that point in time. But my relationship with Chaz, for example, Chaz Mostert, it started pretty much after his accident in Bathurst.
Yep.
Had that bad accident in Bathurst, and I reached out to him on social media. He was from around where I was from. Yeah, I'm a fan. He's from a local boy from around the area. Excuse me. I reached out to him on social media just from a mental point of view. Obviously, at the time he was a young kid and he was striving to be the best, and a massive future, and things were going great. And then split second, bang, whether it be an injury for a footballer or, in his case, in a car.
Yeah.
I just reached out and in support. And off the back of that, we formed a bit of a friendship. And then Chaz would come around home and we'd train at home, and that's how our friendship started. And, I mean, his career speaks for itself, I suppose. But for me, I was just a massive fan, and if I could have helped him just by giving some support morally or mentally or physically, even by all means. And that's how that relationship started. It's pretty cool.
Because his break was terrible too, wasn't it?
It was bad.
Yeah.
But it wasn't so much the break. As harsh as mate, I wasn't too concerned about the break, but it's mentally what it does to a young kid. It's like a young kid comes in to play football and he's got the world at his feet and he's shown all this potential, and then does his ACL. Well, okay, there's going to be a little setback here, but how are you going to attack it? What are you going to do with it? And Chaz was in that mould. Had a huge potential. He had a setback. How was he going to attack it? What challenge are you going to do? And then Chaz, the Chaz Mostert that we see now, this lean, sort of disciplined driver that we see now to what he was, is completely different, isn't it?
It is.
So he made a real conscious effort to change whatever his habits were to be better, and he's doing that.
He's killed it.
Yeah. It's been good. But that's sort of one little story on it.
So you're still in the supercars, though? You're still loving it?
Yeah.
Yep. What are you and your hands on too with? What are you building at the moment? You building any cars? Or?
I'm procrastinating at the moment. I've got an XR wagon, 1967 XR wagon, that I come across that Dad and I've actually. Well, it's on the road. It's mint. This thing's mint. But I want to make a real bit of a sleeper out of it. For those who don't know, a sleeper's like have it looking like Nan's car, but pretty tough engine and stuff inside. But as I said, I'm procrastinating over that. It's to do that, you've got to put a fair bit of money into it, and I'm a little bit tight in the hip pocket at the minute.
Yep. Money and time.
That's it. Money, time, all that above. But I've got a 1955 Caddy as well, which. Pretty cool car, and I got a 76 F truck that I've had for about 15, 16 years. I've bought and sold twice.
That particular
car. I won't be selling it again.
No.
And I've got some regrets along the way. Anyone that's built a car out there will understand you've got some regrets. I've sold some cars that I just shouldn't have sold.
Yep.
That's just plain and simple. But anyway.
Especially now, because cars have become investments
absolutely.
more so than houses, quite commonly.
Yeah, absolutely. I Dad and I built a 1938 Plymouth, really sort of mean looking car, hot rod. Took about 3 or 4 years to build, from start to finish. And long story short, had it for a long time, enjoyed it, sold it, bought a boat, used the boat twice, sold the boat.
Really?
Got no car, no boat.
That's a shocker.
Anyway, there we go.
Kids in sport. Say your kids come home
and
say, hey, we want to pursue a rugby league career.
Yep.
You be happy with that?
Yeah.
Yep.
I was really reluctant at the time. Wiley, my eldest son, he's 9. My wife wanted to get him into football at 6. I kept saying no. I just think that's too young. Just enjoy being 6 at the time.
Yep.
He started at 8. I started when I was 8, so I thought 8 was okay. And loves it. Absolutely loves it. Like, doesn't just like it; he loves it.
Yeah.
So, and that's not through anything. I'm not pressuring you into it. But if you're going to do it, let's do it properly.
Yep.
Okay, so let's learn how to do this and how to do that. And if you still love that, let's keep doing that. Which is where he's at. Loves watching it. Knows everything about it, which I think is pretty cool because I can sit and have a yarn about footy.
That's cool.
With my son.
Brings that mate thing back,
And he's
doesn't it?
9.
Yeah. So he knows all the players.
He knows it all. Knows where and what and how and all that stuff. So that's really good. He's very and out on the field, he's very good at it. But it's it's the teachings of a team and how you can have an influence on, like, if you're really good but your teammate's not, well, how do you make him better? They're the little areas that I like to see him do. So kids in sport in that regard, he loves his footy. His brother, who's 6, Jagger, he trains with Wiley. He goes to training and
At 6.
At 6.
Yeah.
And he's got an older brother, so you're always playing in the backyard, so he understands it. He gets it and all that too. But I'm not real keen to get him started yet either.
Yep.
And he loves they love their dirt bikes and they ride around home on their bikes and that. So he's happy just being a kid at the minute. But I mean, I think if he was 6 and to play, they got to wear these OzTag things now, which in my opinion is rubbish.
Yep.
What's the point of him running around? He just wouldn't. He wouldn't like it. He's too far advanced to like pulling a tag off something. He'd rather just tackle. Anyway, and Memphis, my eldest daughter, she's into netball. She's into acting and all that sort of stuff. So it keeps you quite busy.
Yeah.
Keeps you quite busy. And River, the youngest, she's just do your best. She's 4.
Just
She's
keep
the youngest
up.
of 4.
Yeah, just keep up.
She'll be rougher than all of them. Don't worry about that.
What about dirt bikes? Like, I see you go riding a fair bit. We've spoken about it too. If they come back and said, hey, we want to race motocross.
Yeah. Well, at this stage, Wiley wants to do motocross as well as footy.
Some of the jumps that I was...
as well as other things. They don't mind jumps and all that sort of stuff. And it's not something I'm not opposed to. Yeah, absolutely. But I think there comes it's just time restraints at the moment with my career, as in what I'm doing, my wife's career and what she's doing, and trying to disperse evenly between all the kids' careers.
For sure. Yeah.
So at the moment he's footy. Okay. We ride dirt bikes in the backyard or wherever. And the control, just natural control that he's got on a bike. Now, I wasn't a dirt bike rider growing up.
Yep.
And I understand you need, he's got all that natural knack from what I can see. So I'd like to pursue him in that area. But we'll just wait and see what happens. Whereas his younger brother, he's riding bikes too. Obviously, when you're the younger one, you just follow whatever the older one does, but you're doing it at a younger age.
Yep.
So he enjoys it too.
So by that time, by 10, he might be progressed because you've learned it so much
right.
earlier.
Yeah. So if I was looking at the two boys, for example, and saying which one, I'd probably say the younger one would go into bikes over the older one, although the older one at the moment is pretty good on one. So anyway.
It's one of those things, it's sort of like footy too. The foundations are made at a young age.
That's it. Yeah.
Like you're saying about the tackling. Tackling should be still allowed.
I agree.
It's a tough one. Mate, well, we've done pretty much an hour.
That's an hour. It's done already.
Yep.
Look at that.
Bit over an hour. So
time flies.
It does, mate. So as I say, it was a little bit of back and forth to get here, but
it was nice. I always, it's not until you get actually put down, as in sat down and then probed a little bit, that you actually start to reflect. I think as humans and individuals, we don't reflect enough at times. My story about Dad and the wedding party made you reflect on, you didn't think of it like that. And we've all got those, we think life's too fast to actually sit, stop and smell the roses type thing, where we should actually do it a bit more. So I've enjoyed it. It's been great. Thanks.
Fantastic, mate. Well, as I say, once again, thanks for coming in, and we'll see you around.
Sounds good.
Thanks,
Cheers.
mate.